Hello, hello. Welcome back to Freelance Friday. Today, we're going to talk about what's new in social, what's new in the world of social media marketing, what these platforms have going on for us this month. We're going to start with Instagram. Instagram's doing something interesting with their close friends feature, which we've talked about before. They've had this feature for maybe over a year now, I think, where you can post to your close friends only stories or even to the feed. You select a number of your Instagram connections and can post content exclusively for them. And they're rolling out live broadcasts for close friends as well. So they have, as of June 20th, it looks like Instagram users will be able to host live broadcasts available only to their curated list of close friends. Up to three other accounts can join the live broadcast and stream with the original user, and the feature rolls out globally. I think this feature is really cool for one, social media managers, people who have to be on their phones all the time, but still want to have a personal life. But also, the entrepreneurs, the content creators, the personal brands turned full on businesses that still want to be able to connect with their friends from high school and college or their family members. That's how I use it personally. And I think it's a really interesting feature. But I also think it's interesting from a business perspective. I think there's a lot that businesses can do with the close friends feature personally. You can use it to reward your top customers, give them kind of a behind the hood look at something. I don't know exactly what, but you could. Or, yeah, if you're a content creator and you basically want to have almost like a Patreon style feed, you could use your close friends list for that to kind of just have a close connection with maybe a vetted group of people. So, yeah, interesting to see those rolling out. And then another thing that Meta is testing is automated creative variations for Reels. So, this was reported by Social Media Today, and there was an example sent in by Radu Onkescu. Some Facebook page managers are being prompted to try out auto A B testing within the Reels posting flow. So, this is a mobile view, and it looks like a little dialogue pops up that says all about A B testing. What gets tested will test different versions of your reels with various captions, covers, and more, and distribute the top performer for you. And they go on to say why it helps. Meta does. They say it maximizes the performance of reels with less effort and time. So if you have ever run Facebook ads, Meta ads, Instagram ads, you are probably pretty familiar with their A B testing functionality. This is an AI driven thing that, yeah, just enables you to, swap out different headlines, different creative, and they will allegedly choose the one that performs the best and run that one for you. So cool to see. I think this is a net positive, especially for those who post a lot of reels and get a lot of views on their reels. A B testing can sometimes not be quite as effective for, a little guy like myself, just like a small personal brand. But when we're talking about content that's getting millions of views and things like that, you have a lot of data and you can, really optimize. Now, this is an interesting meta story. I heard rumblings about this feature on Threads. So there's a political content toggle in your Instagram settings, which I didn't know about until I saw people posting about it on Threads. So you can go into your settings, and here's what the dialogue says from Meta. It says, political content is likely to mention governments, elections, or social topics that affect a group of people and or society at large. And you can choose whether you want to limit political content from people you don't follow or don't limit political content from people you don't follow. So supposedly this is not going to impact what you're seeing from people you do follow, but instead it's more about those suggested posts that you might see in your feed and so on. So first of all, I didn't know this was a thing, until I went in to go look at it. Now, there's a follow up to this, which is that a Democratic strategist named Keith Edwards is telling people to check their setting after many people have noticed theirs had abruptly changed. Another person, a journalist, Taylor Lorenz, confirmed that her settings had changed and noted that they appeared to reset every time she force closed the Instagram app, which The Verge, they also confirmed happening on their phones at time of publishing of this article. So Meta says that the behavior was unintentional. They said, quote, this was an error and should not have happened. We're working on getting it fixed. So they're kind of coming under fire for like turning this off allegedly or, resetting this button for people who want to see political content. Now, When Threads first came on the scene in July of 2023, it's been almost a year now, Instagram made it no secret that they don't really, I'm paraphrasing here, but they don't want to be known as a place for political content. And we're in an election year. Political content is ramping up, not to mention just all of the things that are happening on the world stage. And if we recall, Meta, got in some hot water about political content in the last few elections. So just interesting. Interesting that this feature is popping up and interesting that it keeps turning off for people, right? Speaking of Meta, let's go over to Threads, which is like one of my new favorite social platforms some days. I feel like it's changing a little bit already, but this is pretty cool. So, Threads has officially entered the fediverse. Now, this is not my area of expertise. I'm still learning. The fediverse is a global open network of interconnected but still independent social media servers, each with its own users, content, and rules. Servers share information with each other to enable people to connect and discover new things across the fediverse. So basically, it allows you to communicate across different servers. So imagine posting on Threads and having people see your post on Tumblr or Flipboard. Also, some other sites that you may know that are part of the Fediverse are Mastodon, for example, or even WordPress. They go on to say that a helpful analogy is email. If you use Yahoo and your friend uses Gmail, you're able to still send emails back and forth to each other. However, unlike email, the Fediverse, your posts are public. So, again, maybe a little over my head. I think this is kind of the future of the internet, though. So I think it's cool that Threads is adopting this. And, Mastodon in particular was one. I was a big Twitter user. I was very brokenhearted when Twitter kind of fell apart, as a lot of you who listen to the show regularly know. And Mastodon was one of the big ones that was kind of in the running for maybe being the replacement. And I know I personally signed up for a Mastodon account and it was way over my head. I didn't understand it at all. And so it's like Twitter users kind of got splintered off. Some of us are on Threads now, some of us are on Mastodon, some of us are on this and that. And so this is a cool way. Maybe we'll like find our people back again. Who knows? But that is now a thing. And if you want to enable this, you have to opt into it. So you just go into your Threads settings. I went ahead and said yes, why not? I guess my posts can be seen across the Fediverse, but it is a setting that you need to toggle on. Another thing that Threads is testing is disappearing or are disappearing updates and media tabs on profiles. So, according to Social Media Today, there is an example that was sent in by app researcher Alessandro Paluzzi. Threads is seemingly developing a new ephemeral posting option, which would see your updates erased from the app after 24 hours when activated. So essentially, Threads is testing stories for threads, text stories, if you will. Kind of curious. So, this article quotes Threads chief Adam Mosseri, who has explored auto archive options, noting that many people are using Threads to, quote, share more raw and authentic content. And he believes that auto deleting social posts should be an option. When I first heard about this, when I first saw Adam Mosseri posting about it, I was like, can we not? Like, stop trying to make this happen. But I actually do see some interesting use cases for this for myself personally, at least. For instance, I love to live tweet or live thread. I haven't really live threaded anything yet, but I did used to love to live tweet award shows, live tweet debates, live tweet, any type of event. And sometimes you wake up the next morning after live tweeting a debate and you're like, why did I post so much and such silly memes? This doesn't really need to actually represent my brand until the end of time. So I could see toggling on the 24-hour kind of Threads story option, if you will, for something like that. At the same time, though, couldn't you just wake up and delete it yourself? I don't know. But that is something that they're testing. They're also testing out a media grid, similar to what X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, shows on your profile. Likely the biggest piece of Threads news over the past month is that they have officially launched their API. I could not be more excited about this. What this means is that your favorite social media schedulers, most of them, my favorite, Metricool, and sponsor of this podcast, certainly has opened the doors and allowed you to schedule threads now. So this is huge, huge news. From the Metricool blog, they just go ahead and say that the introduction of the API marks a significant step forward for threads, And the new API will enable developers to integrate their applications more seamlessly with Threads, allowing for more efficient content posting and in depth analytics. I went ahead and connected my Threads account the second that I found out about this, and it integrates seamlessly with my Metricool workflow, and analytics are in there now. So that's really cool to be able to see some deeper analytics about, my Threads following and all of that good stuff. So definitely check it out. I will say, I think this is a great thing for all the social media managers, business owners out there. The chaotic child of the internet in me, however, is like a little bit sad about this, just because I think Threads has such a casual, silly, lighthearted feel to it right now. Even for the businesses and brands that are doing well on it, it still is just a little less polished, a little bit less attention to details, let's say, than some of your other platforms. So I do wonder if the culture of Threads is going to change. But, at the end of the day, like I get it, it's business. We got to, make these platforms their money and type our little posts. So yeah, this is great for social media managers, business owners, etc. With that said, let's take a second for today's sponsor, Metricool. You can always use the code Latasha for 30 days free on any of their premium plans. Definitely check that out. I'll link that down in the show notes. If you would like to connect your Threads account, play around with it, schedule your first thread, it's really fun. But they've also just released a 2024 social media study that if you like these episodes, these What's New in Social episodes, you are going to love this study. So much good data in here. They've analyzed over 33 million social media posts from 9 different social media platforms. It's packed with valuable insights along with updated trend predictions for the rest of the year. You can find answers to questions like, what are the best days and times to post for each platform? Have brands maintained their interaction and engagement? Which platforms and strategies are working best for brands and businesses? And so much more. You can download the full study on the Metricool blog from the link down in the description. And again, you can register for a free Metricool account and get access to 30 days free on any of their pro plans using my code Latasha at the link in the show notes. Let's go over to TikTok. This is news to me, okay? I had seen it, like I saw it when it first came out for, a blip, like a second, and then it just completely slipped my memory until I was researching for this episode. TikTok has released an Instagram rival called WHEE. And as of June 26th, according to TechCrunch, it has no traction. It's not doing so hot. This is really interesting. They've got some screenshots here, TechCrunch, in their article, and this seriously looks just like Instagram. It's kind of wild. But interestingly, the logo looks just like Threads. Like if I didn't know better, I would think that this is a Threads spinoff, like a visual Threads or something. I don't know. It looks like Threads, but then the platform looks like Instagram. So anyway, earlier this month, TikTok launched a new social app called We, an Instagram-like service for taking photos to share with friends. Like Instagram, We also supports the use of photo filters and includes messaging. However, the company's plans for We aren't clear, as the app has relatively few downloads and has yet to advertise itself via Apple's search ads. Without marketing support, new apps remain largely invisible in the App Store. They went on to say that We has only gained around 13,000 total global downloads, with the majority of those downloads coming from Malaysia, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Peru, and Indonesia. They've really not done much, if any, marketing in the US or gotten many downloads at all in the US. ByteDance, the company behind TikTok and now We, they have not commented on its plans for We. But they go on to say in the article that the timing of the app's launch has definitely raised eyebrows given the TikTok ban or forced sale, which we'll talk about in a second. So, my theory on this is that they probably had some big plans for this, and the TikTok ban, which President Biden signed, forced sale, let's say, is the correct term. I think that probably made them halt a little bit. They're like, wait, we don't want to release a new app because we're owned by the same company. We're going to reach the same fate as TikTok. So who knows what they're going to do, if they're going to wait it out until September or beyond until they figure out what's going on with this ban or forced sale, or if they're going to focus on other countries and just winning over in Malaysia and Saudi Arabia. Who knows? I do know, though, that creators are getting really fed up with Instagram. People are ready for a new app, but it's got to be the right one. It's very similar to the kind of exodus from Twitter slash X. There were a lot of competitors, and I don't think any really stuck like Threads has. So we'll see what's happening there. And also it's just Meta. They're so powerful. So it's gonna take a lot to really compete with them. But I think if anyone can do it, it's probably gonna be TikTok, right? Speaking of the TikTok ban, not a ton to report here. The official arguments are set for September. I talked about that in the last episode, but TikTok has filed their official legal brief challenging the ban. And here's what they had to say. TikTok's lawyers argued that the law is, quote, unprecedented and violates the First Amendment. They say this law is a radical departure from this country's tradition of championing an open internet and sets a dangerous precedent, allowing the political branches to target a disfavored speech platform and force it to sell or be shut down. The Constitution does not allow Congress to single out one speech platform, make no findings, announce no justifications, ignore less restrictive alternatives, and discriminate based on speaker and content. The act is unconstitutional and must be enjoined. So, again, we'll hear more about that in September when the arguments begin. Should be very interesting. I don't expect a ton more news to come out before then, but that's what they're saying. And I'm really curious what you think. Do you think that they make a solid argument or not? I think it does sound like a solid argument, but I also see the argument the other way. So who knows? Okay, X has been a little quiet lately, but we got a couple of pieces of news from X. This first one I was kind of surprised about. So X is now hiding your likes. Now, I thought, and I think a lot of people thought when I first started seeing posts about this, that this meant your individual posts would no longer have, the hearts under them. That's not correct. It's talking about the tab on your profile. You know how you can go to somebody's profile, go to their likes, and scan through and see everything that they've ever liked before? Well, that is now it's no more. You can still see your own likes tab, but you can no longer go stalk your new friends or people you're interested in being friends with, which was personally my favorite use case for it. I'm like, are we really aligned? Do we really have the same values? Let me scope out their Twitter likes. It's no more. So X's engineering team said it would be making likes private for everyone to better protect your privacy. And they go on to say that liking more posts will actually make your For You feed better, which I thought was really interesting. Now, obviously, the selfish side of me is like, oh, I want to creep on people and see what they like. But this does make sense. I can even say, I've, of course, sometimes seen tweets that I did like, that I did agree with, but I didn't actually like them because I knew they would show up in my likes tab. Not like I'm ever thinking of anything too wild, but, maybe it's just like a political thing that I'm like, I don't want to like get into this, right? So it makes sense that by making that private, people are more likely to be more engaged on their home feed or their For You feed, as they're calling it. And that only helps everybody, right? That helps X, that helps the creators on X. So it makes sense that they're doing this. It is like kind of the end of an era, though, right? It's a little sad. I don't know. Another end of an era, I suppose. I mean, I don't really know too many people who live streamed on X. Do you? But if you did, just so you know, you better be a Twitter Blue, an X Premium, I think, an X Verified, I think is what it's called, subscriber. The @live account said starting soon, only premium subscribers will be able to live stream, create video streams on X. This includes going live from an encoder with X integration. So upgrade to premium to continue going live. I was just kind of reading through some of the responses to this because, again, I'm not really super familiar. I don't really watch live streams on X, and I haven't live streamed on X since it was Periscope. But the first comment says, nice job on being a YouTube, Twitch, and Kick competitor. Here on X, you pay $10 a month just to stream with an inferior UI, video player, and a non-existent live stream tab for finding streams. I just thought that was kind of funny. I'm not going to pick on X. Some people accuse me of doing that. I really am not. I think, honestly, the people who are live streaming on X probably wouldn't mind paying for verified. They're probably like the super fans, and I have never really had a client be like, let's go live on X. If we're going to go live on any streaming platform, it's going to be YouTube or Twitch or even something like LinkedIn. So, yeah, I think this, I don't know. Is this affecting you? Is anybody live streaming on X and is sad they're going to have to pay? I don't know that I think it's kind of a non-issue, to be honest. Let's talk about some platforms that we don't normally talk about, including Pinterest. So, Pinterest is introducing a new way to share Pinterest boards on social media. The long story short is they're adding social sharing buttons to Pinterest boards. So, let's see, whether showcasing their dream home decor or ultimate travel bucket list, the new board sharing feature lets users effortlessly share dynamic videos of their favorite Pinterest boards to other social platforms. With board sharing, Pinterest streamlines the process of sharing pinned content and enables users to include a link for others to explore their entire board on the platform. So, just an interesting way to be able to like share it across Instagram or anything like that. There's a lot of users on Pinterest. I feel like we don't talk about Pinterest, but it looks like they're trying to get a little more into the social game. We always talk about Pinterest as being a very SEO platform, and I think it's really valuable. I think it's really valuable for that reason, but it looks like this is like them trying to capitalize a little bit more on social as well. I was just thinking this is like kind of I'm going off on a tangent here, but I was just thinking the other day I published a YouTube video and I was like, why doesn't YouTube allow us to do this? On like Twitter, X, you can share it to your Instagram stories. You can basically do that now on Pinterest. Why doesn't YouTube do that? I guess because YouTube and Instagram are kind of competing, at least when it comes to shorts. But that would make my life a heck of a lot easier. I think YouTube needs to get on that. Speaking of YouTube, YouTube is testing chat topic sorting to live streams. So, this is a feature that only some people are getting the invite to. You'll see it on your banner in your YouTube studio, it sounds like. But to help you more quickly understand and participate in the exciting conversation that happened via YouTube live chat, we're experimenting with AI generated live chat summaries. So basically, if a live stream has enough comment activity, YouTube will be able to use its AI sorting to separate the chat into subjects, making it easier for viewers to quickly get an understanding of the key elements of focus and jump into discussions that they're most interested in. Of course, the example that they're showing in the screenshot here is Mr. Beast. So I think this makes the most sense, obviously, for somebody like him, a huge account that probably just has like, thousands of comments going off. I know I watched a few court cases live on YouTube over this past year, and those things can move really quickly. And you're like, what are we talking about? If I even wanted to leave a comment, I wouldn't even know how. So I think that's cool for those like really quick moving chats and those very populated live streams. And then another channel that we don't talk about a ton, but this was some very interesting stuff here is Snapchat. I've talked about it a few episodes ago. There's been some pretty wild stuff coming out of Snapchat, and I have to be careful what I say on YouTube, but specifically regarding teenagers, no longer being here because of interactions that allegedly, started on Snapchat, substance trading, things of that nature. And so Snapchat is releasing a bunch of new features as of yesterday, at the time of recording this at least, to help protect the community, which I think is great. So they're doing expanded in-app warnings. So this example shows some guy named Laurent chatting in, and there's an in-app warning that says, Laurent has been reported by other Snapchatters. Are you sure you want to start chatting? I think that's great. I know Instagram does something similar. I've seen it, and I've always like went to the profile before responding, and just wouldn't give that person my phone number, let's say. Just proceed with caution. There are also some enhanced friending protections specifically for teens. So basically, if they receive a friend request from somebody they don't know or don't have mutual friends with, they'll get like further warnings and things of that nature. Simplified location sharing and additional reminders. So they have this thing called Snap Maps where you basically track your location and you can share it with your friends, I suppose. So they're, reminding you who you're sharing with and things like that. And then there are also some blocking improvements. I love this one. When you block a user on Snapchat, it will also now block new friend requests sent from other accounts created on the same device. I think these are all great moves. I actually think YouTube needs to learn from them a little bit. I was reminded the other day, I started to get some kind of creepy, weird messages, like comments on my YouTube channel. And it's a name that I recognize from another platform from years ago. And I had blocked him on those platforms. And I realized I can't block anyone on YouTube. I can only hide a user from my channel, but they can still come on and leave comments and kind of get that, kick out of doing that. And I just think YouTube needs to allow us to block people. I know they'll still be able to watch and things like that, but it doesn't seem like they're prioritizing creator safety, in my opinion. Speaking of, I want to end today's episode with a couple of policy kind of uh, government type updates, if you'll indulge me. So in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul has signed a bill targeting addictive social media platforms, and she says our kids are in distress. So she signed this bill. It's called the Safe for Kids Act, and it requires social media companies to restrict, quote, addictive feeds for social media users under the age of 18. And it would also bar notifications from social media platforms related to the feeds between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. without parental consent. It will also require some age verification and parental consent tools to be set by the Attorney General. So this was signed and it is set to take effect 180 days after New York Attorney General Latisha James, not to be confused for Latasha James, that's me, solidifies its exact rules and guidelines. And she can then, after that 180 days, can then fine social media platforms that are out of compliance up to $5,000 per violation. So, yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree, most of us at least, that social media can be very addicting, can be damaging. We'll talk about another op-ed about that in a second, but I do just want to make a selfish note. You all would be shocked by how many messages I get for Attorney General Latisha James. I actually had to put my profile picture on my contact page because I was getting so many harassing messages blaming me for things that I was doing to the former president that I'm not doing. I'm just a social media gal from Michigan. So very funny. They're spelled different, they're said different, but Okay, so speaking of the potentially harmful effects of social media on adolescents in particular, the Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, wrote an op ed for the New York Times entitled Why I'm Calling for a Warning Label on Social Media Platforms. I thought this was a really interesting piece. He starts it out just by saying one of the most important lessons he learned in medical school was that in an emergency, you don't have the luxury to wait for perfect information. And he ties that to social media. Listen, we're kind of living an experiment, right? This is all quite new. It feels like forever ago when I think about MySpace, but it really wasn't. I'm quite young, like this is all very new. And he goes on to talk about, that there's a mental health crisis among young people. Social media has emerged as an important contributor. Adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk of anxiety and depression symptoms, and the average daily use in this age group as of summer of 2023 was 4.8 hours. Additionally, nearly half of adolescents say social media makes them feel worse about their bodies. He goes on to say that it's time to require a Surgeon General's warning label on social media platforms, stating that social media is associated with significant mental health harms for adolescents. A Surgeon General's warning label, which requires congressional action, would regularly remind parents and adolescents that social media has not been proven safe. It is quite a compelling argument. Listen, I work in marketing, I work in social media. Obviously, I want it to be available for people, but not at all costs, right? We've got to be mindful about it. We've got to be intentional about it. And frankly, I think we're going to see a pendulum effect if we let it just, cause such harm. I think eventually we're already seeing it. A lot of the Gen Z and younger, even people that I have in my life, actually really don't like social media. And I think it's because of this stuff. They've seen bullying, they've seen, mental health issues from it, body image issues from it. So just you should read it. You should definitely read it, especially if you have kids. That's all I got for you today. That's what's going on in the world of social media. Let me know what you think of these stories. I always love to hear your thoughts, your feedback on this series in particular. And if you ever have any stories, any topics that you want me to explore, dive into, feel free to send them to me over on Instagram at the Latasha James. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast on Apple, on Spotify if you don't want to miss an episode. I'd greatly appreciate it. And thanks again to Metricool for sponsoring the show. You can use my code Latasha, that's Latasha, for 30 days free on any of their pro plans using the link in the show notes. And I'll also link that social media report for you. There is so much good stuff in there. So thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you in the next one. Bye bye.